Good evening again. It's now 7:45 p.m. and the July 21st Special City Council meeting will now come to order. Please rise and join me again in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you please call the roll again?
Councilmember Frank Bankert.
Still here.
Councilmember Kimberly Shaw Elliott.
Present.
Councilmember Todd Harper.
Present.
Councilmember Jody Shirley. Here. Councilmember Anders Wellings.
Here.
Vice Mayor Lloyd Roberts.
Here.
Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Riefler.
Here.
City Attorney Nancy Meyer. Here.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have one agenda item, and that's consideration of the resolution, which Nancy is going to read for us.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, establishing the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 2025-2026 and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. So Kyle, I'm going to let you give everybody an overview of all the good work you did here.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this is the standard number we put out for our adoption of the tentative millage rate. And then in the discussion section, you're going to see that it compares this year's gross taxable value to last year's, and that is what represents the decrease of 0.82. And it talks about the loss of revenue. And then what's important, we set the tentative millage rate is once it's set, it cannot go above what we set it at. So it's important to remember that. In the past, probably 13 years, we've stuck with the 2.0394 millage rate. And if you go down to the bottom of the first page of this memorandum, you'll see that it lists out 4 different rates. The rollback rate is calculated based on the amount of, it's calculated to produce the same amount of revenue. Let me just make sure. Because usually our property values increase, so when our property values increase, the rollback reduces the millage to produce the same amount of revenue that we collect in that year. Our calculated rollback rate this year will actually produce $1,715,100 net ad valorem revenue, which would be at 2.0135 millage rate. But if we were to stick it, our current millage rate will produce slightly less ad valorem revenue from last year because of that decrease in value, but we will still be higher than what the rollback rate would be. So we would not reduce our millage, maintaining the revenue. So the recommendation I have, which is consistent with every year, is given that we're been at the same millage rate, it's a lot easier to stay at the millage rate and budget your money accordingly and work our reserves, pay back our loans early, rather than lowering our millage rate to a rollback and then maybe our values decrease more, our costs go up, and then we're in a situation where we need to increase that millage rate for the residents. But a tax increase comes across a lot differently than rollback. So just like to mention that, and that's where we stand this year with our current estimated values, or our values. They're firm as of July 1.
The 96 collection rate, that's just historical?
Yes, that's calculating if everybody was to pay the discount, like they paid early. So it's just projected.
So we're going to need a motion before we start discussing. Right?
I motion that
Actually,
Go ahead, Ed.
I'm sorry, my recommendation is go to citizen comments. In the event that a motion does not pass, they will not get the opportunity to speak on this.
Okay, okay, good point. Are there any citizen comments? Not hearing any? Let's proceed. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-04 since I never get to make a motion.
Well done.
Well, exactly, well done.
And I will second that.
All right. So So Dave made the motion and Jody seconded. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Sure, I agree with the city manager's recommendations. Yes, we are losing a little bit, but I thoroughly expect the city manager to sharpen his pencil and take this back to committee and work hard to figure out a way to fund the pump project, and we'll see how that works out. But my recommendation is to approve resolution 2025-04 as written.
All right, any other comments, questions?
I think we ought to go with Plan C and 2.1043. Not saying that we have to pass 2.1043 mils. We can always reduce it to the 2.0394 mils, but we can't raise it. We can't raise it if a couple weeks from now he says, hey, we're stuck. And I don't think there's any harm in putting 2.1043 in the resolution tonight.
Any other
That will
comments?
be announced in the trim notice, so it might appear differently to residents.
Any other thoughts? Comments?
I think that's the
I think it's a
only,
good idea.
So the motion is to accept the 2.0394.
We have to vote on the motion.
So we can vote on that. And let's do a roll call vote.
if we wanted to have some more discussion on what you brought up, is now the time to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can discuss anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were you saying, the negatives of doing with C, what would be the negative? Is that it would
So,
just show up in the trim notice,
It'll
and we deal with
stay in their
potential
notice.
perception.
As the proposed millage.
Right, and then people say like, oh,
Yeah,
wow,
why are you
you know,
raising my rates?
why are you raising it? And then if we choose not to do it, it may or may not be very clear to them that we undid it or something, right? They just remember what they saw in the village. I guess I'm just trying to, that's how I imagine the perception.
They get the trim notice, they
don't get to see.
really vote until after that trim
Right.
notice has gone out, so they won't know for sure what their tax rate's gonna be until we vote and they get a tax bill.
Right, and then they've forgotten what actually really
I
happened.
think the public perception of $60,000 net gain is not worth it.
Colin, we were talking this morning, what is the, you had mentioned that one of these would require a supermajority?
Yes, there's voting requirements for the higher millage rates. I don't have them listed here. It's a majority for passing what we're at, but I think it's a super majority for the other, for anything higher. But I have to verify that on the trim website.
Okay, so it's a possibility we would need a supermajority for C.
Right, for the higher rate to increase, you're gonna need more than just so much
Okay. All right.
I think you make a good point that it's only a $60,000
Yeah, I kind of
increase.
think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the concept, but it's probably not worth the pushback.
It's 10% of the pump.
That's.
Now you're waiting to find 90%.
Any other comments before we vote?
I just want to let you know that for the 2.1043, you would need a supermajority 2/3 vote, I guess. It says 2/3 vote. I have to do the math of what 2/3 of your number is, but okay. If you wanted to do option D, you would need unanimous vote. If you wanted to go to 2.3147, that would require unanimous vote.
Okay.
But if you wanted to
Okay.
do C, you need a 2/3 vote.
All right, so we're going to vote now with a roll call vote, and that is for the 2.0394.
Councilmember Frank Bankert,
No.
Councilmember Kimberly Shaw Elliott,
Yes.
Councilmember Todd Harper,
Yes.
Councilmember Jody Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Anders Wellings,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lloyd Roberts,
Aye.
Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Aye.
Okay, so it passes. So this is where we said we were now going to do general business. Yes, sir.
It's come to my attention, and I'll cut this in the attorney, I wish Tom was here, but Bel Air Shores is now locking, or they have been locking the gates every night at sunset. And they are easements, those gates are easements for the people of Bel Air Beach, or east of Goff Boulevard. They've never been locked for 75 years, to my knowledge, except for back in COVID, the governor ordered all beaches to be locked. So, at the Bel Air Shores meeting I went to, they said, we own the lots, we do what we want, more or less. They have no right to lock those gates. So, we need to have our attorney draft a letter. I don't know if Kyle has the ability to talk to Bloom about it, but now they're restricting our accessibility. Actually, they want the deputies, talking to the deputies this past couple of days, they actually want the deputies not to open the gates till after sunrise. Why? Because Bloom's going to be building 2 houses right in the beach gate. Beach access probably, but and the deputies refuse to do that because when the deputy comes on his shift at 6 a.m., one of the first things they do is go out and open the gates, because if an emergency call comes up, they might have to go into Largo, Indian Rocks, wherever. They might not be back here until 9 o'clock, so they can be able to open the gates.
So you're talking about the parking lots.
I'm talking about the 3 access.
They need that.
6, 12, and 19. But there
On
are...
this end, they've always been closed at night. I don't know if they're locked.
Yeah.
No, they actually have a chain lock, well, it's
Yeah,
a cable lock.
They were just only pulling them.
Yeah.
Supposedly they locked them.
And you could-
Oh, I never did. I just thought they were, I was that, you know.
No,
it's
Who's
closed,
doing
it's
the
closed,
locking?
you know.
Is it
The sheriff.
Sheriff
One of
is
the
doing,
deputies.
so the sheriff is not agreeing to follow their, what they
Well,
recommend.
He doesn't want them open until sunrise. He wants them
Right.
closed
Right,
at
so the
sunset.
sheriff's saying no to that.
Yes.
Close at sunset.
They want to close at sunset, so they'll now be closed at 5 o'clock, 5:30.
So much for the value of living on the beach, huh?
Yeah, so, my wife actually,
Not at dark, at sunset.
Sunset.
So what time does that mean?
well, tonight it's 8:37, tomorrow it's going to be 8:36.
You can't get out after the sunset.
And my wife actually came off the beach the one
It's a
night.
little silly.
And they were locked. And if I didn't get her that Planet Fitness gift for,
She would have made
this isn't being recorded, is it?
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Baker, you're telling me that they're locking cars in at night?
No, they're locking the gates.
Okay, and historically, they've always closed the gates, but there wasn't a lock on it, is that right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so was somebody using the gates after they were closed?
I
I'm
usually,
trying to figure out what the difference is, other than there's a padlock versus there wasn't a padlock, but nobody was going in there anyway, or were they?
well, they were. I mean, it's a public beach. It's open 24/7. So if I want to take a stroll at 2 o'clock in the morning, I have the right to go take a stroll at 2 o'clock in the morning. If I want to go fishing at 2 o'clock in the morning, if I want to start walking right now, I got 37 minutes before the gates open.
Kyle, do we have hours or some sort of restrictions on our accesses, the ones that we maintain, as to when you can and cannot be on the beach?
The small.
So you're talking about, when you say our access, you mean Barter Park?
I'm talking about, I'm not referring to Bel Air Shore at all. I'm talking about the access.
Oh, the sidewalks?
Yes.
Our beach is technically open 24/7, and the only thing you cannot do is like sleep on it.
Yeah,
You know,
you
like,
can't.
while you're out there,
Yeah,
you can't be-
You can walk that 24/7. It's a public protected beach.
The beach is open 24/7.
So like the access point that's right there by the motel, there's no gate there,
No,
right?
no.
There's no gate, it's just an
This is
access.
just Bel Air Shores.
Right, okay.
So again, my question is are we, because there's a lock on it, has anything really changed other than there's a lock on it? Or is suddenly everyone in the city is inconvenienced because we're putting a lock on a gate that's closed and everyone knows not to use it anyway after a certain time? I'm just
Well, the
I'm throwing it out
inconvenience,
there to find out what's the.
There is no walking gate. There is no walking gate, so you only can
Right,
use the car
correct.
gate.
They
The only
could've
gate
put-
you got is the car gate, so you can't use a walking gate.
they
to
could
get
have
to
put
the
a walking gate in when
Right.
they redid the gates.
Right.
But they don't want you on the beach,
Right.
basically. I mean, and the inconvenience is, now the gate is closed so tight with the new gates, the old Sunbelt gates, you had some
Yeah.
leeway, to get through. So now you can't get on. The only way to get on is go down to 28th Street or up to Morgan Park.
Or the,
Or
or
down to
the,
Indian Rocks Beach.
or the
Yeah,
sidewalks.
I follow you.
Dave, I think the other thing that was mentioned is they're closing them earlier. Like, they don't wait till dark, they're closing them at
Seems,
sunset.
when Lynn was here, I remember 9 o'clock being like the
That's always been the
cutoff.
magic rule.
You are correct.
That's always been the magic
And
rule.
then it moved
Yeah.
up to like the sunset time.
Yeah. Lynn always had them closed around 9 o'clock at night. But if you were on the beach at 9:30 or you wanted to get on the beach at 9:30, you just pulled it inside.
Yeah,
And all our residents would always close it,
So to answer Dave's question, there are people that do go into when the gates are
Yeah,
closed.
walking or driving.
Yeah, they will go in there. Yeah, so it's,
I haven't.
I couldn't tell you how many,
I'm all for sending that letter.
but I'll look.
Now, I will offer
We don't care.
Bel Air Shores a compliment, and that is, I did see cars parked in the 6th Street lot the other day, and they did have letters on their dash, but they were not replicated, and they were not highlighted, and they were not mass produced. It was specific to a house for a specific duration. So the last time we sent them a letter about those.
Was that today?
No, that was probably 3 days ago.
Because there was a.
One house that had like 10 cars, and it said, this house at this address has these 10 cars parked here from 12 to 5. And I was
That was 2 Saturdays.
I was just very pleased with the idea that they put a very finite letter.
Well, that was,
Versus before it was the generic, let me give it to every construction worker and they can stay forever kind of.
that was 352 Bel Air Shores. They had a party.
Okay.
So they gave 10 parking spots
Okay.
to 6th Street. And I asked Mary, the town clerk, what gives you the authority to do that?
Mhm.
Can Frank Banker, who's an elected official, write a letterhead? She says, well, I'm the town clerk. I said, you're the town clerk. You're not even a certified town clerk. Who gives you the right to do this?
How do you give it time? How do you get an easement on something that's years?
Right, and they said, well, we own the lots. You are the trustee of the lot, okay? And the specifics are, they're for the people east of Goff Boulevard. You don't need additional parking for your party. You have plenty of parking.
So what are you asking for again, Frank?
Well, I said,
Is that a letter?
I'm asking a letter, a strong letter to be sent to remove the lots off the
Okay.
gate.
Okay.
I would rather it come from the city manager than I would from Councilmember Banker.
No, I don't want to send it either. I thought our attorney should send it.
I was gonna, I'll have Tom give it Kyle and they'll
Perfect. You
get
can-
something put together.
Because Tom actually, I think he did the articles of incorporation years ago when he was a youngster, okay, about establishing, the ownership of the deeds of those lots.
Well, thanks for bringing that up.
Okay.
Any other general business?
I have a question on the forfeit easements. Where are we at on the whole easement rescission?
So I sent a letter today, and the recommendation of Attorney Trask was to kind of reiterate the letter that the county had sent to us, addressing, their request for reversion and citing that they felt like they held their end of the bargain as far as maintaining the beach. So we put together the letter, sent it to you, and if there's any additional things, elements to the letter, you should be added and here.
Was there anything in the letter talking about the idea that if they pulled it back, we would lose future nourishment? Or was there any comment about the negatives of them doing the rescission?
There was none.
I would recommend anyone that has friends that live in that condominium to contact them and just let them know, hey, you don't want to kill it for the entire city because no one will get it, and you need it as bad as the rest of us do.
Which easement is it? My first turn.
That's a good point, Dave. Did anybody read the article that was in our little newspaper? And I apologize, I forgot the name of the town that specifically the county was representing and was there. But what I got out of just glancing at it very quickly, it was either the county administrator or the public works director or both. Their message was the following: we're going to do the beach restoration, period. If you don't want it in your property, we'll just avoid your area. And we're going to put like a slope into it, but we're going to do it. And they emphasized, we are not the Corps of Engineers, we're the county, and we're going to do it. So if you get a chance to read that article, I didn't read it as well as I should have, but that was the message. They're going to do the beach restoration, and anybody that chooses not to have it done, the county was saying, okay, we're fine with that. We're just not going to do it where you are. So when I close my eyes and get a visual of what that will look like, where to the two sides of that particular property, it's some number of feet higher, I don't think I would want to live there under that scenario.
But it also is that a start-stop kind of thing? Is it like property 1, property 2, property 3, and 1 and 3 do it, but 2's got the gap?
Yes.
No,
So,
it's not.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, would
No,
the
it's
county
not.
do that as, it used to be if you had one objection, they would skip that whole city segment. They wouldn't
Yes.
just skip a lot, they would skip the
No,
whole.
I agree, but that was with the Army Corps.
Right.
This is the
They're
county.
they're doing it different this time. I can explain it to you.
Go ahead.
What I was told by Kelly Levy is that if someone did not sign the easement, they are going to start placing sand at the main water, what is it, main water line?
High water.
Yeah, basically, if you've got, if you have sand now from that line in the sand that's invisible, that nobody really knows where it's at, they're gonna start at that line and go outward towards the Gulf. And so whenever they're finished, if you don't sign the easement, you're going to have a low area.
Wow.
That's
Effectively a
great.
gully between your property
Correct.
and where they start placing sand.
Cool.
So they're not blocking out the whole city. They're just,
They
they're just,
can have a mini lake.
it's just in.
Yeah, but you know what, we brought this up, and Dave, you were there when the Army Corps had the meeting down in Indian Shores, and I brought up about Bel Air Shores never taking an easement. And Bob Schmidt, at the time mayor, he said, we don't take take a replenishment, we don't take sand, but we get a hell of a lot of sand when IRB and Bel Air Beach does. And the colonel says, when you leave a crater like that, 1 or 2 storms is going to start filling it in.
Right.
So we need to do this, whatever it has to be, legally or whatever. We can't have people stealing our sand because they're going to, like I said, Scalia wrote a masterful decision on this whole beach emulsions and everything like that. I really believe the county should have addressed this years ago. But
It's not a theft of sand, it's basically Bel Air Shore has nothing to give, and it was a requirement. I think back whenever the project was done, it would have been beneficial that we had been considered one community instead of 2. And that way, both Bel Air Shore and Bel Air Beach would have both gotten, as far as I'm concerned, our sand, even though it's appreciated, it's almost useless after the first storm because of Bel Air Shore and because of the situation. Whenever we got the first presentation at the Big C meeting about what was happening, I begged the county administrator and the public works director to look into nourishing Bel Air Shore anyway, just as if it was another home or property that would not sign an easement. I said, because the county is doing this project. They can do whatever they want to. And the county said, they finally got back to me after I asked them this question in public. They came back and they said the Army Corps would not give them permitting. They would not let them piggyback on this permit, and that they would have to run another permit to be able to nourish Bel Air Shore. Then they said that they would also need easements from Bel Air Shore, but I don't believe that for a minute, because they're willing to nourish, or not communities, but properties that have not signed any easement whatsoever. So if they're willing to do that, why aren't they willing to do a mile stretch in front of Bel Air Shore?
Well, you know what, I brought this up last week too. I said, when red tide comes in, you have no problem getting on the phone screaming to the county to go pick up the dead fish, all right? When Morgan Park replenished a lot of this, or remodified or reclaimed a lot of the sand this past storm, you had no problem taking free sand from the state and dumped it on certain properties. But now, you're not gonna take a beach renourishment because you don't want people on your beach, all right?
No, that's not the case at all. We've not actually, not even gotten to the point of asking that question. I believe that more people in Bel Air Shore would actually accept sand now that they've seen what a real hurricane did to their property. I spoke to Mayor Bloom, and he said he would accept sand without any issues. He said he didn't know how everyone else felt, but that's not the problem. The problem is that the county is following the same line just for Bel Air Shore as the Army Corps is, because they don't have anything to give for public access. You can't take those 3 lots. You can't use that as public access because it's deeded to us for our usage only. And we don't have the authority to use that for public access any more than Bel Air Shore does. And so basically for that mile stretch of community, there's nothing to offer to satisfy the requirements of the Army Corps' stance on you must have X number of percentage of your shoreline for public access. It just doesn't exist. It's an anomaly.
So what's stopping the county from doing that?
Right.
Well, that's what I asked them in the last Big C meeting. Why can't you just go ahead and do it? And what they did was they went to the Army Corps, or at least they said they did. I think the only way that this would work would be if we had enough people in Bel Air Shore that we could convince to go with us and approach the city or the county rather, in a public meeting and say, you need to do this anyway. You're not helping anyone. In fact, you're making your project weak by having a mile stretch of unnourished beach.
Hey, Dave, did you say that when you mentioned earlier, if anyone were to block their little section, they were still going to put sand like after, and create a little pond. Is that going to be the same case all the way through Bel Air Shores?
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
They're not going to do it at all at Bel Air Shore.
Okay, so they're not even going to create the lake there.
No, the reason why is because whenever they did this, right now, this project is an emergency project, and so they're fast tracking it. Well, whenever they did all their planning and they drew up the plans, it had nothing to do with Bel Air Shore. They were basically
They were never included. Okay,
the
so we're not going to get a little.
project that was already designed by the
So
Army
we can
Corps
tell how
of
ugly
Engineers.
it's going to look.
Well, as of last Tuesday night, Commissioner Story even put on the record that they're not even going to bring their equipment on our beach to move the dozers and the pipe. We're going to make them get off at like 19th Street and come back on at 28th Street. So I don't think
they're not going to make them do anything because it's not even a question for the county.
Well, I'm talking Commissioner Story made a comment that I made him get off my beach, last beach for nourishment. And I said, you weren't here in 2017, when they had the big, I think it was 16 or 17, when we did the last beach for nourishment.
Look, you're always gonna have somebody who disagrees with everything, and they just think differently than we do, and there's nothing you can do. You can't make somebody think differently. But in the case of this particular project, they're not even in question. And if somebody's saying they're making the county do something, I'd like to actually see it.
So you're saying there's still no window, that it's too late to get Bella Shores?
It's too late.
It's too late for Bella Shores to,
It
okay.
would delay the project dramatically if we had to halt the project and get the amendments on the permit.
Gotcha, okay.
All right, any other general business anybody would like to bring up?
I think back to our issue with the one condo property that is not going to give us the easement. Can we have a copy of the letter? Can we see the letter so that email it, yeah. But does it make sense for us, if any of us know, to talk to residents there? Are there people even living in this building? I don't see very many cars in the parking lot.
If I'm correct, I think this,
The
the
one right-
first floor hasn't moved in yet fully.
It's the one
'Cause they
right
were
next to
given
Morgan Park?
AC units still.
Okay.
Is it the one right next to Morgan Park, or is it one over?
It's one over.
Councilmember Shirley,
Yes, sir.
it's my understanding the reason why they don't want it, why they're pulling out of this project is actually because they didn't like the height of the dune that was put in front of their property. Now, I don't have that in writing, but that's what I've heard. And I understand that, okay, they didn't like the 10-foot dune. The plan is to install 5 feet of sand all the way to the water. And then they come back and they're gonna do a 3-foot dune.
Oh, wow. All right.
Part of
The letter was delivered to us, and I wanted to say that I thought it was well done in that when I first read it, I was thinking, well, wait a minute, it says that, the easement is valid, but it didn't cite anything or explain why it's valid. And I thought, you know what, that's just fine. It's high level, it just throws it out there, it's giving them notice, and it's not putting us in any corner as far as taking a specific position or path, so I thought it was fine.
Okay. I would recommend, I'm gonna go back and read it again, the article that was in our little newspaper that we all get. So it addressed a lot of issues and gave a lot of specifics and examples. The quotes from the county, things like that, so it's worth reading.
Yeah. I guess I'm just listening to what Dave said. I mean, like you said, it sounds like you're saying, because I heard the same thing about the fear of the dune being really large again. So it's clear what the message is now. If it was a 10-foot dune before, you said we're gonna put 5-foot base and then a 3-foot dune on top of it? Is it an 8-foot dune in their mind then, or is it a 3-foot
No,
dune?
it's 5 feet of sand all the way to the water, is what it actually way out into the water.
So if
So
there's
they're
a-
effectively raising the level of the sand 5 feet everywhere that you see. Then, to strengthen that, they're going to do a 3-foot dune on top of that, either in an easement area, or they're going to do it at the mean high water line.
So do you think
Okay. And so, that's kind of, that is what the plan is. Another issue that came up for this property is that they started complaining about people invading their area and not respecting their privacy. So they had no problem with people using the easement walkway
Right.
to get to the beach, but that wasn't good enough. They were coming onto the property, they were borrowing lawn chairs, they were invading their privacy and not going to the beach. And so that's where That's the two problems that I believe created this issue. Kyle, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, I was trying to look up something else. So yeah, so what I understand is that it's gonna be a 5-foot elevation, so that, I was trying to see what the height of Gulf Boulevard elevation was, it's gonna be slightly lower than that, but pretty close to it. And then that's the level of the beach, and then the additional 3 foot to the dune.
Okay, so if they were familiar with what the 10-foot one looked like,
Yes.
what is it now going to be relative to the 10-foot? Is it going to
Well,
be
it's
7 feet less?
2 feet less.
2 feet less?
Well, it could
2
be.
feet less or
because
7 feet
technically,
less?
When
That's
they
okay.
built to 10 feet elevation, they built higher at 10 feet because they expected settling. So it was a little higher, and then the settling.
So it's going to be 2 feet shorter. I'm thinking if he wants to call up and talk to the neighbors there and say, hey, look, help us out here, talk to your lawyer, tell them to bail on this. Because it's not going to be as high.
I don't think that math necessarily works, and here's why. If you walk the beach now, there's a significant change in where the sand hits the seawalls of the different places that go along there. So it's really low. So
No, I
if you put in
understand that.
5 feet of sand, you're not going to be back, in my opinion, where it was before when they put 10 feet on top of the beach.
That's what I'm thinking. So
Right.
I'm hoping that it's
So when they
3
put
feet
the 5
more.
in and then put the 3,
Right.
you're not going to be 2 feet lower than where the 10-foot berm was. I don't believe that's the case.
It's gonna feel more like where the dunes are at when we had our overwalks in place.
Right.
And they were going about a foot and a half over the dune.
Like, if you wanted us to go and, like, lobby with those residents, we could explain it to them, like, it's not gonna be the 10-foot one that you hated.
Yeah.
It's gonna be what it was before. You got that. Is that correct? I don't really know if that's correct.
That's what we were told.
Okay.
And
Yes.
if it's that close to Morgan Park, I think a lot of it is probably, Morgan Park is so busy.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
it's so bad. I mean, cars are stacking in there.
Right.
It's ridiculous. I don't know how many people come in these cars. There's hundreds of people on the
Yeah,
beach.
yeah.
It's bad. It's
Oh,
really,
yeah, and
So you think
at
that's-
sunset, there's actually a line waiting for the shower.
yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
just not a nice, it used to be a great place to go. It's-
Garbage cans are fine.
And if that's what they're next to, that's probably a big part of the problem.
Yeah.
Any other business?
Just, can I get a copy, or all council get a copy of the letter that goes out to Bell Shores?
Yes.
I have one copy. If you could just update us on the check valves, please.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I have not heard back from Harbor today, so I know that they were starting work on adjusting the valves, but I expect to hear something from them tomorrow. But yeah, so the update I sent today was the most information I have currently. They are, says they received a letter slightly later. We extended that deadline for the plan. We have a meeting set up on Friday.
You mentioned, like, they sounded like they want to take care of
We
it.
haven't scheduled it yet. Yes, they actively want to fix the problem, and they want
So
to.
that's not going to be a big fight. Okay.
No, but they needed a little more time because they received a letter slightly late to have a formal plan that they wanted to submit back to us. instead.
And that's for everything except 7th and 8th. That's the thing you're talking
Right,
about.
it's everything outside of
Deals with
7th.
all the check valves except for 7th and 8th.
Yes.
Yes. And, okay.
And where I'm at with 7th and 8th is I'm just having Gemini investigate, order a camera, and figure out what's wrong with that
I
system.
don't know if everybody understands, the homework he's done so far is 7th and 8th check valves work pretty much. They seem to work. We found there's someplace else that water's coming in. We don't know where. It's a puzzle right now. Like, we felt like we did a little plugging and did a little diagnosis
Yeah.
and, you know, Tyler.
So we have a check valve in the segment that goes to the 7th Street outfall, but we have it in the manhole that's about
Yeah.
center in front of the lift station as you drive to the boat ramp. So there's a check valve in there that's preventing water from that manhole flowing back towards the system, towards the inlets. And then after we installed that valve, we saw water coming in. Made us think of 8th Street, so we went down to 8th Street because you saw that it was breaking down. And there are a lot of holes, so we wanted to stop the flow from that segment, from that outfall, so we put a plug, which was, an
We just
inflatable.
plug the whole drain for that one, just like, forget trying to figure out the
I
check
mean, we
valve.
plug it,
Let's
we
just
had
plug
an
it.
outfall.
And it's still coming in.
And it's still getting-
Water coming from somewhere else, so he's gonna do a scope. He's getting someone to come in and scope it, to be right.
Because it's too fast. It's too fast
It's
to come
like-
in
it's-
around the valve or around a
We
plug.
don't know.
Yeah, there's some pipe, when you sent me the plan, there was, I guess when they redid, so part of the Harbor Drive on between 7th and 8th, there was some old pipes that were asked to be removed from the Gulf Street Boulevard, because there's two drains on 7th Street, there's two drains right next to each other. One is the drain from Gulf, and it goes all the way down the street, down, 7th Street. And then this check valve ones, which is what drains in the individual U streets, And the original drawing shows those two pipes connected. And the instruction when they did the work was to destroy those connections, take them out. I'm questioning,
We should verify.
we should check, did they really remove them? Because then that's pretty obvious, but you can see it in the drawing.
Well, you'll know if you run a scope down there, you'll find.
Right, yeah. I thought you could even open the manhole and check it, but,
Well, you can.
yeah, but I think he'll do it with the scope, yeah, so. But I felt we've done a lot of good homework here, now there's a new part of the puzzle. Check valves seem to be working.
Who was supervising that project?
Gemini engineer.
No.
One comment also in that they stated as the solution would be to go ahead and just cut off the ends of some of those some of those pipes and then just put the check valves back on. My impression was, however, that that may not fix the problem if the lining is spilling over the edge so that you can't put the valve on. That's one thing. But if it's also folding so that the circumference of the pipe itself is diminished, just cutting off the end isn't going to help us in that the capacity will be under capacity. So I think they need to do both, is cut it off if that helps, but then also scour out so that the circumference is restored.
So, I received your questions today and I forwarded them to Key with Gemini to answer directly in his expertise because he did analyze that and part of his report when they analyzed all those pipes is they determined because it's not a pressure pipe, it's a gravity flow, that there was not going to be an impede, but they did the numbers for that, so I wanted him to answer you directly. And they did examine every pipe.
Okay.
So I'm getting that answer for you in his words.
Okay, very good. And just to maybe describe this a little bit better, is that if there's lining spilling out the end, that's one thing, and you cut that off. But if that lining is also now, instead of a 6-inch pipe, it's a 2-inch pipe, that's not enough then, cutting off the end, is that the
So-
capacity needs to be restored.
So if you imagine, most of these pipes are 18 to 24, somewhere in there. It's probably like a 3-inch bump inside of that circular pipe that is impeding the flow. So it's a very small, I would say like maybe 3% of the opening to the pipe is impeded.
That's not really bad.
Like it would make a difference if you were talking pressure line irrigation, but it's not going to make a difference with gravity flow.
I agree. Yeah.
But he did analyze that.
It's causing somewhat of a natural trap.
Well, he did see in one of the valves that it slightly, and they made a comment about making sure that it was.
So yeah, that's gonna
But
get
they-
corrected. Right?
Yes. And they also analyzed the wear over time of water flow over resistance of the material of the ridges, erosion.
I guess, sorry, back to the 7th Street one. So we had talked about building this dam to fix that temporarily. So in light of what you've done, putting the check valve in the manhole,
Mhm.
that looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm backing
So-
off the dam.
So the whole dam thing, kick the dam, can maybe go away? Okay.
I
okay.
wanted to, because I wasn't.
Yeah, so we didn't even need a check valve, so, okay, so that's off the table. Okay, good.
That's not a 60 grand.
Yeah, there you go. There's our 60 grand.
Right.
Just write it down.
Write it down, put it in the right bucket. Okay,
Anything else? Everybody ready to go home? Need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right, everybody have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Roberts.
Cut this off real quick.
Yeah, just push right up to it, yeah.
Now there.
Would you say over what?
Your millage is over 6. I never thought.
Bel Air.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I live there.
Yeah,
Let's not talk about it.
But why?
16 when they did the fee training.
You know, honestly, I never paid attention until I had this job. I mean, we represent Bel Air, and